Welcome back to the Vet SOS podcast. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the Vet SOS Lifeline. We are brought to you by the Who You Know Network, and we're proud members of the Prairie Deck community. We can also now be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and the TuneIn apps. I'm excited about today's episode. We got Michael Hall from Hold the Reins with us today. I love the results our community is seeing with equine therapy. I'm so excited to talk to Mike about what he's got going on and the things that he's seeing with the work he's doing. This is going to be a great conversation. Mark, back in the house again today. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing fantastic. Can't complain. Probably wouldn't help if I did anyway. But yeah, I'm super excited as well. I have had the opportunity to participate with a local organization, Equine Therapy, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So super excited to hear what Michael's got going and talk with him about his organization.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump right into this. We got Chief Petty Officer SEAL Michael Hall. He's an active duty member of the Naval Special Warfare from the past 19 years. During his time in service, Michael has experienced and witnessed close friends endure the extreme challenges SEAL, SWCC, and EOD operators face during their careers. These challenges are not restricted to the battlefield and often impact the operator's home life. Hold the Reins is designed to provide tools that aid in adjusting to the extreme pressures they face throughout their careers, alleviating any trauma that interferes with their ability to lead normal and happy lives. Michael, so glad you joined us today. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Thank y'all for having me. I just want to let all the listeners know that all my views and opinions are solely mine. They're not accepted or not influenced by the Department of Defense, Department of the Navy, or Naval Special Warfare. But thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I love the backdrop here. And what's awesome, if people are starting to think it's a fake virtual one, we just saw the horse move. This is all legit. Absolutely love it. This is gorgeous.
I'm actually in Utah right now. We have a mentorship program that we use, started by Hugh Vail and Jeff Kirkham. Hugh's program is called Mustang Medicine, and we just got here last night, my wife and I, to do some immersion experiences and enjoy ourselves a little bit. So this is actually his place. He works with Mustangs and Mustangs only. Legacy and Swayze are behind me. Swayze being the tan, and then Legacy being the Bay Roan. So we're probably going to head off here in a little bit and talk about some opportunities that are staring us later on down the road and enjoy ourselves at 100+ degree heat. Nothing comes easy, and if it comes free, you don't want it. So
yeah. And I was going to say it didn't really look like the hills of Virginia up there.
Yeah, no. We're actually, I'll just use that as a dovetail. We're actually located in Southeast Virginia. Virginia Beach is the southeast corner of Virginia, and our farm is about an hour and 15 minutes west of that in a town called Cortland. Our president, Rich Garner, who's a retired frogman, retired in '96. We actually host on his farm. It's 34 acres, 12 horses. We got a couple fishing holes, and we're trying to grow it at a manageable rate. Of course, we want to grow it faster and faster and faster, just to, remind ourselves that Rome wasn't built in one day. So we're happy with the progress and the results that we're seeing.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. That is awesome. So yeah, you're still in the service, so we won't worry about the transition piece yet, because I know that's coming here in your future. But elaborate a little bit more on this whole desire that you saw to want to create this organization to help our community.
Yeah, Sean, we talked about it a little bit on the phone earlier, and I was even skeptical about how this tied into the transition. You're like, well, what did you tell me earlier? You want to see guys be a whole human, an elite father, husband, and contribute to society after or outside of their military service. And that ties into during their service as well as after. In my culture of Naval Special Warfare, we tend to become our team, become our troop, become our fire team. And in my opinion, there's a divergence of self there. So we like to engage with guys as early as we can in their careers to keep them in touch with themselves, so that at the end of their 6-year service, 10-year, 12-year, 20, 30-year of service, When they've hung up that uniform for the last time, they're not lost in who they are and what they've been doing for the past 20 years. And why did I get that divorce? And, some of those things tied into the why. And where it came from, my generation, seeing guys go through those stressors, what's now being called operator syndrome. Even if guys don't deploy, there's still this intense pressure to be zero default during training, always mash the gas, put yourself last, team first, family somewhere down the line, and then yourself is dead last. So we want to encourage guys to consider themselves, be real with themselves, be honest with themselves. What we do is give guys a safe haven to connect with fellow warriors and people from our community to begin that process. And to be honest, me and Rich, we really don't do anything. We just hold space for the conversation and the experience for the participant and the horse. The horse really does all the work. So the why is to get guys to a certain point inside their own heads where they're true to themselves, true to their family, true to their Lord or their spiritual journey, and then also being an elite operator as well. So we believe that if we can get guys to be that complete package, that they can get to the end of their careers and not have self-detonating tendencies, not pick up the pieces. I talked to an admiral of 30 years and, we were just sitting down. I hadn't even started this process yet. This was years ago. And he looked at me and he said, after 30 years in service, my life almost detonated. I had no clue who I was. And that was a jaw-dropping moment for me. Being an E-dog, I just feel like the officers have a wealth of resources and networks and a higher step-off point economically when it comes to finding a job outside the military. And to hear him say that made me realize that no one's immune to becoming the culture, becoming the Trident, becoming the SWCC pin, becoming the EOD pin, whatever branch of service guys are in, whatever units that they're pinned into. We all serve with pride, and we all take pride in our service, and we give it our all. And sometimes we use ourselves up in giving it our all. So if a 30-year admiral is not immune to it, no one is.
Yeah, I was going to ask too. I mean, I know you've got the organizations listed, SWCC and EOD. Are the majority of people coming through the program frogmen, or are they operators across the board?
Operators across the board. We haven't had a lot of engagement from the EOD community as much as the SEAL and SWCC community. But we typically don't say no to anyone. We have been asked if we would allow some people to come out, and I don't want to say no to anybody. Now, I want to say in that the conversation is a lot more natural when we sit down and talk with someone from our community who has walked the walk, who has done everything that you have done. It really just removes all the barriers. And I see a north and south out of all y'all, but to all the listeners out there, I'm sure you resonate with, you sit down, an Army guy sits down with a Navy guy, and automatically there's like, oh, okay, here we go, one of these types again. You know what I mean?
It's like Sean and I.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure. So it's been largely from our community, but we've had others come out, and surprisingly, the guys who have come out, two things they say: I did not know I needed this as much as I did. And the other thing is, my wife needs to see this. So we've seen a lot of individual growth with the horses that guys want to share with their families and guys find will be beneficial to their marriage.
That's absolutely awesome.
It's profound. The things that we have experienced on the farm have been profound. And me and Rich often look at each other. It's just me and Rich Garner of Fishtail Bar G. He's our president. We just find each other in awe sometimes. The participants teach us things. The horses teach us things. And it's been a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because and Sean, I'm sorry to interrupt. You
No,
probably maybe are going this direction too, but spouses, especially for a high level operator such as yourself, it's a night and day difference probably than your average enlistee or service member who, I was a medic. I worked in a hospital. It was like a day job, right?
Sure.
For the most part, right? And so I wasn't married at the time, but it was just like us being a civilian almost, right? Working in San
Okay.
Antonio. But
Okay.
for somebody such as yourself and your colleagues and peers, like they go through the ringer, right? It's like being married to a police officer, right? You don't know if they're coming home or not. You don't even know where they're at half the time,
Sure.
right? So
Right.
I totally get that. I mean, spouses, man, what a testimony to their mental fortitude to have to deal with all that.
I didn't realize during my career, during my deployed status, and when I was training and running and gunning real hard, I didn't realize how much of a mental torture device it was for the family, for my wife and kids and my parents. Oh, my parents. About having a kid join during wartime, join special operations, deploying to the belly of the beast, and then not even to mention that, it's just the training there's high risk training not every training block that we have, but there is some high risk training. So even when we go down to Key West to dive, like dudes get dive injuries down there, dudes die from diving down there. So when you talk about the strain on the family and the things that they have to put up with in their mind and their psyche and their emotional bank, there's a lot in there. There's a lot going on that we as the service members, we live it, but we're so engrossed and immersed in our experience that it's a challenge to think about what everybody else is going through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was, I was intel, so I was in a variety of different types of units, including EOD, which was probably my funnest assignment being with them because they're an interesting breed. But the during my deployments, my wife wouldn't even watch the news. Like she didn't even want to, know what was going on. Tune all that out, what have you. So
Mm-hmm.
how do people, get involved with the organization? Like if someone wants to participate and hold the reins, walk us through that process. What's that look like?
The easiest way is to go through our website, www.holdthereins.org. All of our information is there. We have an email. It's contact us at holdthereins.org. It actually goes directly to me. And we've had a long list of volunteers, a long list of participants, and a long list of people who just want to know more about our program. Contact me via that way. We have social media links on my personal link is on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We can just start a conversation those ways. And then, it takes some explaining sometimes. And you guys, did both of you say you've had equine therapy experience, or Mark, was that just you?
It was just Mark.
Yeah, just me. Yeah, there's a local organization.
Yeah, and you probably have had a conversation like, oh, what's equine therapy like? It's like, well, it's kind of hard to explain. I'll do my best, but really you just need to come out and experience it. So there's a varying degree of conversations. There's no question too dumb. If anyone's never been around horses before, completely welcome out before. If guys grew up cowboying and kind of lost touch with the horse through their service, more than welcome to come out to the farm. There's no experience level that's inappropriate.
So what's that initial interaction look like when can you verbalize it? Let's put it that way. When someone actually gets close to the horse for the first time, can you sort of paint a picture for us?
Yeah. So we talked about the feel of the horse. The horse operates on fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and they have a chi bubble that's 15 to 18 feet. They can assess what's going on inside of you, even if you're not willing to admit it to me and Rich or Mark, Sean. You guys could look each other in the face, and I'm sure we all do this as men. Hey, bro, how's it going? And it's going great. How about you? Cool. All right, let's go. So there's a lot of undiscussed things, unacknowledged things, and there's a varying degree of reasons why we do that. Sometimes we're just mission focused. Sometimes we just have things to get done. But when you walk up to a horse, it's already got you figured out. So the initial experience is to us, for me, Rich and myself, to talk about how the horse works, how their brain works, how they assess emotions, how they can show us what's going on inside of us before we're willing to admit it. So we allow our participants to check in with themselves and start to begin to feel the horse and feel themselves at the same time. And it starts with walking out into the pasture and haltering their first horse. Then we get into the grooming. And the grooming is no more than, putting a halter on the horse requires a handshake of sorts. Grooming the horse, it's kind of like sitting down and having a conversation. If it's a woman, obviously you sit there and pet her, and if it's a dude, you sit there and have a casual conversation. And that grooming period can be as intimate or as casual as the participant wants it to be. After the grooming, we go into some groundwork. The groundwork can be something simple, just picking up feet, getting the horse to walk, lope, canter. We have a lot of other drills that we can put the human and the horse in touch with each other more and create that deeper bond of a feel. And we can venture off from there. That all happens within the first visit, and it is a lot to take in. Not just with the horse intelligence, what we call the horse IQ, but in that, as I explained, the horse runs off the 4Fs, the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And in that time, as you feel out the horse, your emotional intelligence is being maximized. You're just really going down a road of understanding, witnessing, assessing, and feeling emotions all in the moment. And a session lasts about 2 hours. So our participants are required, that we don't require it, but the horse requires it of them, to be as situationally aware, present moment focus, and as emotionally available as they can be. So in that first 2 hours, in that first visit, from the halter to the grooming to the groundwork, it's about 2 hours. And at the end, we have a debrief. After that, if we leave it up to the participant, we let them maturate and give them about 24, 48 hours soak time, because that's a lot in 2 hours to be spending with a horse. And then we reassess and figure out what we can do for them next.
That's an amazing picture. And in my mind, I'm trying to relate to it, right? Because like I love dogs, and there's something really comforting, about a dog, and especially when they want to curl up with you and you're petting them, and you're just in that moment.
Yeah.
A horse is a big animal.
Yeah. Right.
So
intimidatingly big. Yep.
Yeah.
And you
And
can't fake the funk around a horse. Like, you can be scared of a dog, sit there and pet it, and the dog's gonna be like, "Oh, he's petting me, he's fine." In most cases, you can't do that with a horse. There's a saying that Hugh taught us that timid people make spooky horses. So you gotta help guys get through some emotions, and then what we call like acting like you know what you're doing. In the teams, we call it team guying your way through something. You can't team guy your way through horses. They will wreck you.
No imposter syndrome with horses.
Yeah.
all right. So you said that's the first visit. So how many visits, does an average person go through?
There's, we've only been bringing participants out for the past 3 months, almost 4 months. And everybody we've had come out has wanted to hurry back, either by themselves or with their fiance, girlfriend, or wife, and then the kids. So we've seen more and more engagement with the guys that come out. And we haven't reached a point where we've had someone tap out. Like, "Hey guys, I think we've gone as far as we can." If that day comes, when it comes, Rich Garner, again, the Fishtail Bargee, also has a wealth of resources and a network that casts from California up to New Hampshire and Delaware, the Dakotas, Wyoming, Idaho, Florida. If a service member in their transition likes what we're doing, likes what they're doing on the farm, and we have a guy in our program now that's moving to Idaho at the end of the month. So we've been working with him as much as possible, and we found a cowboy in his town that Rich trusts to turn him over to. So our guy will be leaving our program and going to work with a cowboy in Idaho. And that's what we want to see for service members in transition. It's like, okay, not everybody's going to stay in Virginia Beach or the near around that area, the Hampton Roads area. So we want to be able to network them in and around cowboys that have a background and a knowledge of natural horsemanship. Because when guys come to us, they already have that ability to understand the emotional component of being around a horse, to not dominate the horse, not be intimidated by the horse, to work with the horse. So that's our goal. When guys are in transition, we find out where they're heading next. We find a cowboy in their area, and we try to get them in a good program, or at least on a good farm that they continue their horsemanship skills.
I love that, Mark. I love the fact that we're seeing this more and more, where organizations are working together and they're referring people, they're pushing people to continue that support. This is great, Mark. Absolutely great.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's so many opportunities, I think, across the country for people to plug in with organizations like yours, Michael, and we all need to work together. Like, if we're truly honest with ourselves, right, in what we're doing, and if it's about the mission and not the logo, like we had heard in maybe another episode, it's not about, even nonprofits, it's not about the logo, it's not about the catchphrase of the mission, or it is about the mission, right? And we're all collaborating together. That's what this show's about. Right. That's exactly what this show is about, to bring awareness to organizations like yours so we can build this network. Amazing work you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys' support, and thank y'all for having me on. I think what you guys are doing is, kind of the glue that holds everybody together, and the gasoline that keeps the engine running. It's easy to stall out in transition. It's easy to get confused and lost, and having a wealth of resource that's easily accessible like y'all. So y'all are doing a great job as well.
Now, did you grow up farming and around horses and all that? How has your experience been, I guess, getting tied in with the organization and starting Hold the Reins?
Yeah, I just use horses recreationally. Like friends that had them, ride them through the hill country of Georgia, and just kind of escape on them, but never grew up cowboying, never grew up ranching, never tied down a calf, never branded a calf, never done a cattle drive, any of that stuff. But when I got into college, I started to have this, I started to throttle down from my military focus and wanted to start focus on the next ridgeline. And, just with the heaviness and the burnout and everything I was experiencing from my career, I was like, man, it would be I don't know, just something innately inside of me was like, man, I would really like to get around horses again. COVID happens. I started volunteering at a farm in Virginia Beach, got around horses, and I was like, this is it. There is no mistaking what I'm doing next. Got my kids around the horses. My son is he is just so natural around horses. But just watching their interactions, understanding how we felt when we left the farm, it was just like dark clouds blew away. So then I was like, okay, well, the experience with the horse is great. There's got to be something deeper. So it's just not a one-time experience. It's not, hey, let's just do this one thing. It'll feel good for a little bit, then we leave. And then the dark clouds roll back in. I was like, we got to be able to do something to help keep those clouds away and, have that feeling of the horse and have multiple touch points, be easily accessible, and be on the operator level. So I started researching equine therapy. Mind you, we're not an equine therapy organization. We're an equine-assisted services organization. We provide coaching, togetherness, mentoring. But anyway, honest with you guys, I was so dumb about this idea. I thought I was inventing equine therapy. So when I went to college, I started reading up. I think the first thing I searched was something dumb, like how do horses help humans psychologically? And it started spitting out all these resources. I mean, it's been used since ancient Egypt. The UK used horses for their shell shock service members all throughout World War I and World War II. And I was like, believe me, I was like, yes, I'm not inventing this, because I don't have any degree in horses or psychology or anything else. I was like, cool. So there are templates out there I can use. And me and the wife sitting at home one day, she's like, I'm kicking you out of the nest on this one. You're done talking about it. It's time to start making phone calls. I was like, yeah, that's all I needed. I was like, I just needed one person to believe in me and be like, I got your back. Let's do this. Give me the squeeze so I can get through the door kind of thing. She gave me the squeeze, and that was February of last year. And then we had a long road of making mistakes, redefining what the word friend meant, understanding who was really with us, who was going to go through the door with us and who was just going to stay up on the side of the mountain and provide overwatch. And you guys go get them, not support us really, except just give us mouth music. And then, like I said, we started this in February of last year. We got our 501c3 in October of last year. And then this about March timeframe, we started welcoming people onto the farm.
It's amazing. What an amazing journey. Yeah, and story. And you know what sticks out to me is, it's passion, right? Everybody uses the word passion, but you absolutely, it's palpable, right? I can feel that in you.
Oh, it comes out.
Yes. And just hearing you share that story about the realization, because look, that's a blessing, man. Not everybody gets that. Not
Sure.
everybody gets that and can send it, right?
Right.
And so, man, what a blessing for you to just be able to come to that point of realization, like, this is me. This is what I was put here to do.
Yeah, and
So
I think
I can tell
everybody but the thing is, Mark, anybody who's worn the uniform has done that. Everybody's rucked up, left home, went to boot camp or a service academy or college and did ROTC or whatever it is. Like we've all gone outside of our comfort zone. And to bring this back to transition is the same thing. Like we've all gone way out of our comfort zone. You made it this far. You've rucked up. You've done some dumb stuff like in the Navy. You clean, you chip paint, you paint. I was in the fleet before I went to Buds and became a Navy SEAL and stuff. So I get it. I'm talking to all members of the service. Like whether you're an intel guy or a medic, we all go through this basic training and advanced training and these certain commands and units that we're a part of. Like, it's just that togetherness, Mark. And I think what you were talking about earlier is what we call the brotherhood. I say the brotherhood's just a t-shirt if we don't actually take care of each other. And that's what you were talking about earlier, right? So, and the important thing in transition is identifying who really has your back, like my wife did to get this thing started. Like identifying what relationships are meaningful to you. Which ones do you need to cut loose? What sort of things inside of you do you need to change to be a better self? You know what I mean? So it's one of those that younger people might have a problem with it. I really wouldn't hear my words as clearly as I'm saying them right now when I was in my early 20s.
No.
Or even my early 30s. I mean, it took me a while to get my head out of the sand, forge a relationship with Christ, and get to this place where you guys see me now. And in that process, he's really given me a lot of people to support the mission. And, this mission honestly serves Christ and it serves the service members. The day I start doing it for myself, I've gone off the rails and someone needs to slap.
Yeah.
Someone needs to say, Mike, why don't you go get wet and sandy? And then you say, nope.
Well, there we go. Amen to that, brother. Because, we're Vet SOS is not necessarily, but the Who You Know is a faith-based program. And so, direction and calling, right? Those are things, I think, divine things. So I hear you there. And so we're down to time, and man, it just goes so fast. I'd love to just sit here with you for much longer, but maybe another time, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. We've talked about how people contact you, get in touch with Michael on the website. The email address is at the bottom of that website as well. So reach out to him if you need help, if you have questions. On behalf of the Vet SOS family, we'd like to thank you all for joining today. Thank you, Michael, as well, for sharing. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to us on YouTube or your other favorite podcast platforms. And remember, do not drown in the sea of transition. Grab your Vet SOS lifeline.